All right. Well, hello, friends on the internet. So we've got some young adult services staff from the Pikes Peak Library District here, and today we're going to talk to you a little bit about a few books. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about books that we want to read in 2021, our TBR pile, to be read. So yeah, what are y'all excited about?
The Hate U Give is going to have a prequel coming out in January, which I'm very excited for because I just read The Hate U Give like 3 months ago.
Ooh.
For the first time. So it looks like it's actually going to follow Maverick. Yeah, so basically what it was like for him, because you know from reading The Hate U Give that he's like dabbled in gang life in the past and has like changed his life and is trying to steer others clear of that now. So it looks like this is going to be kind of his past and his story of getting out of that.
Is that Star's dad?
Yeah. Big Mav.
I did read it, but
From the store. I will say, like, one of the things, because I looked at Concrete Rose too, and one of the things that I thought was kind of cool about it is it talks about how Big Mav is like a teenage father, and I feel like when we get that perspective, we oftentimes get it from like the female perspective, and so I'm pretty excited to read that. Teenage boy. Let's see. I mean, not, you know what I mean. Teenage boy father. What else?
Okay. So I did find 2 fantasies that sounded like different that I was excited about that I think would give chances to. One is Witches Steeped in Gold. Did you guys see that one?
I haven't read it yet, but I have it on NetGalley.
Well, I was gonna say can't read it yet, but I forget you do NetGalley. It's by Shannon Smart. And so basically it's like these witches in a Jamaican-inspired fantasy, and there's something about like the queen's daughter has to like die to make her mom more powerful, and she teams up with this other person to try to like escape or survive or something. I don't know. It sounded interesting though, and different than other things I've read. Maybe, I don't know. Witches are like a hook for me. I get very intrigued by witch stuff. Yeah. And then Wings of Ebony by JL also looked intriguing in terms of just something different. So it's kind of almost like a Percy Jackson thing. She finds out she's a half god, half human, and like gets taken away by the gods to the secret country by her estranged father, and then like stuff happens. So a little bit like Chosen One stuff, so I'm a little suspicious of it, but also it might be different enough.
So this book is coming, I'm going to just talk about it because it's like kind of in the same zone, but I have already read it. It's called The Gilded Ones, and it's by Namina Forna, and it is a fantasy. I saw that. I really enjoyed it. Like, I liked it a lot. Like, it was one of those where I finished it and I was like, it was pretty good, and then I was like still thinking about it days later, which I don't do that often, I'm not going to lie. So it like really stuck with me. It's also, if you're familiar at all with like West African mythology, like Thandaway is a character, so it's definitely steeped in West African mythology, and it seems like it's going to start off with the whole Chosen One kind of, but it goes to a very cool place. Like, it went somewhere that I was like, whoa, I did not see that coming. So I really, really enjoyed that one. It's a cool twist on some things that immediately seem like really overplayed tropes. So I would definitely really strongly recommend The Gilded Ones. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I saw that one come up at one point. I was like, but it was 2020 because the list I had was looking at both.
I think it was supposed to come out this year, but I read it in May. So like, it's another one that got pushed.
Yeah. So anyway, good to know.
I have a non-fantasy pick that I thought was also kind of a unique setting. So it's called The Forest of Stolen Girls by Jane Her. And what stood out to me about it is it's set in 1426, which is not a period you see a lot of historical fiction in. And it's set in Korea, and it's about this girl, and she and her sister were like, they went missing as children, and they were found near this grisly crime scene by the woods. And they had no memory of what had happened to them. So their family moves away from the area because, obviously. And her dad ends up becoming whatever the equivalent of like a detective was in the 1400s. And he finds out that there have been all these other missing girls in the area since they left. So he goes back to this village because he wants to figure out what had happened. And he goes missing. So now the story centers on his daughter, who's trying to track down her father and piece together what happened to her and her sister as children, and then also all these like 13 missing girls that have gone missing in this village. So it sounds to me like a really interesting kind of mystery thriller, and then also I don't think I've ever read YA fiction that was set in the 15th century. So I'm definitely up for it.
I saw that one too, Lauren, and was like, oh, that one looks intriguing. So yeah. I'm right there with you.
Britt knows this. I read last year Sadie by Courtney Summers, which is this super depressing book by, it's about this girl whose sister is murdered, set in Colorado, and she goes hunting for the killer. And it's a big downer of a book, I will say, but it's very well written. And the sequel called The Project, also about sisters, where this girl's sister has joined an organization she believes to be a cult, and she's infiltrating it to try and get her sister out. And I listened to Courtney Summers talk about it, which is the reason that I know it's coming out. And she's Canadian. She was talking about how she makes all of her books super dark and they all have downer endings. And I was thinking about, we have a Canadian coworker who always talks about how like all Canadian fiction has a downer ending. So I always think about it when I read her stuff. So I'm going to read this, but I know I'm going to suffer through it. But if you're looking for like a really sad book about cults, that's coming out next year.
Sell that one.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to suffer through it.
Sometimes you're in the mood for a dark book.
It's true. This book, I think, okay, here you go, Becca. You might enjoy this. So I was like, as I was like looking for some books that are coming out, one of them that stuck out to me was The Infinity Quartz by Kimmy Dawn Bowman, because she described it like there's the Goodreads description or whatever, and then she wrote a little comment that was like, in this book, I got to combine my love of robots and superpowers with Jane Austen in period drama. And I was like, oh my God, I would like that right now, please. Anyway, so.
I have that pulled up on my screen. You've now hit two of the books that I had that I was like really excited about, because I also had the Gilded ones pulled up, and I'm like, dang, Britt taking my thunder. But yeah, that looks so dope. I was reading through the blurb, and I'm like,
as long as it's not the garbage that was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
No. I think, so what it is like, this AI has taken over. Okay, so this girl gets murdered. I don't know, I read the description. Larissa, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh.
But basically this girl gets like murdered, and then her conscience gets like uploaded into like a place. I don't know. I mean, I haven't read it, so I'm a little light on details here. But in that place, there is like an evil AI, which is like also one of my favorite tropes. But she has decided that she's going to be queen and have everyone be her servants. And I am just very into everything that I just said.
Yeah. Putting that on my to be read list for sure.
Well, another sort of rom-com that I saw, just because it gave me like very strong Dumplin' vibes, and I do love Dumplin', and all of the other Julie Murphy books, was Fat Chance Charlie Vega. Did anyone else see that one? Crystal Maldonado. Yeah, just a fun contemporary that gave me a lot of Dumplin' vibes. So
I've got 3 sequels I'm super hyped for. I'm going to list them all.
Do it.
Maggie Stiefvater, we were talking about her earlier. She published that Swamp Thing comic. She's also publishing the sequel to called On the Hawk. It's going to be called Mr. Impossible. It's coming out in May, and I'm really hyped for it. And if you read the Raven Boys series, it's the character Ronan from it, the one who can pull things out of his dream into the real world.
Spoilers for a very old book series, anyway.
It is the premise of Called Down the Hawk, and then this is the sequel to that. So awesome series, and I'm excited for the sequel. And then Rainbow Rowell, Any Way the Wind Blows, her Carry On series. She's putting out the 3rd book in that. I have July written down, which is like her send-up of Harry Potter. It's so good. It's amazing.
It's just like right
It's one of my favorite audiobooks. Yeah. You just have it in your house all the time.
I just have it. I have it at all times, just in case I need it.
Last one, Leigh Bardugo, who wrote the Grishaverse series, is publishing Rule of Wolves, which is the sequel to... And I wasn't like super fond of the first one in that, but I like her Grishaverse, so I'm going to be reading the second one. Just for more fantasy.
Well, one of the ones I was looking at was Rise to the Sun, and it's by Leah Johnson. And so she wrote, oh my God, Yes, You Should See Me in a Crown. I'm like, why? I was like, it's got a cute cover and it's purple. I'm like remembering the colors of covers and nothing else today, I guess. But yeah, so You Should See Me in a Crown, which was like the Reese Witherspoon book club's, like, it was like their first YA pick, I think, which is not why I read it. I read it because a coworker said really nice things about it, and but it was very cute. It was like very prom centric, and I'm not gonna lie, like, things that I just cannot get myself to be invested in include prom. So that whole aspect of it, I was like, ugh. But I really loved all the rest of it. So her next one that's coming out is called Rise to the Sun.
You really want to read that one, Britt, because I love prom and all things to do with prom.
Oh, you should 100% read this because it is set in the Midwest. You too, probably, Larissa, if this just sounds like your thing at all. Like, it's set in the Midwest. It's like
they have a grand march?
They did something weird. I don't think it was a grand march. I'm not good. Those parts I was like, for God's sake, just be over. But like, because again, I really am not a prom enthusiast, as you have just now gathered. But yeah, so they did some stuff that I was like, oh God, I thought I hated prom before, but if I was from this school, woo.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Did you guys do grand marches, Larissa?
Are you talking like how weird can you get to the prom and everyone watches from bleachers?
Well, everyone watches. The weird thing, getting to prom in a weird way was not a thing, but yes, like
it pulled like a cart with 2 kids in the back, and then like
no, you didn't do that, but it was definitely where everyone watched from the bleachers and like they announced you and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so that's like half this book is like she's campaigning to be prom queen, is like a lot. Yeah. And she's not like your typical prom queen. But like, yeah, so the next one is Rise to the Sun, and it's set at like a music festival, and that I can get into.
Yeah, those I dig.
Yeah, music festivals, yes. Prom, no. Anyway.
I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of things about music festivals. No, they're hot. Usually they're warm. Like you have to be outside in like unpleasant weather. There's probably like porta potties involved. Massive amounts of people who are rude and not following the rules. Like all of those things just
so
are
Becca
like.
is your grandma,
focus.
everyone. Like you just heard her say, it's hot. People are noisy.
Not wrong.
What was that?
So tell us about all the books you found.
No, well, I'm reading one right now that's an advanced reader's copy, Firekeepers' Daughter. And I found this when I was putting together the book list for Native American Heritage Month. It's not releasing until 2021, so obviously I couldn't put it on that, but I checked it out. And it's about this girl. It's like set on the border with the US and Canada. I don't know, I had a Canadian thing going on for next year. And basically her mom is white and her dad was Ojibwe, and she's an unenrolled member of the tribe. And she's up at the reservation at a party, and she witnesses a murder. And she gets dragged into the investigation as like an informant. And it's kind of her moving between these two worlds that she lives in the town and on the reservation, as she's trying to like put together the pieces of what's happening in their community. So it's a great book so far. I'm like 50% done with it. So based on what I've read so far, I would say check it out next year if you want like a mystery thriller kind of book. Well, I've got more historical fiction that I'm looking forward to. There's one called The Angel of Greenwood coming out by Randy Pink. And it's basically, so next year is the 100th year anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And this book is historical fiction set, and it's these 2 black teens who are living through the massacre. So it's kind of talking about the events leading up to it and then what happened after it. So I think it'll be a really interesting, and I was just reading more about it, and I feel like there's a lot of, like, I was reading, and this year is the first year that it was added to the curriculum in Oklahoma. And this year is also, they're still trying to find the mass graves for it. So it's really, I mean, it's for the 100th year anniversary, but it's kind of, I mean, it's contemporary in a way, right? It's still a present day issue. And the last survivor from it also just died this summer. So not really that far in the past, even when you think about it.
No, especially not when, as a society, we're still very much dealing with the same issues.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Always makes it feel more immediate. Ooh, I really like these books called I don't actually know what the series is, but they're like, each one is about a different historical figure named Jane. and they just take them to like an insane place. So one of my favorite reads of last year was My Calamity Jane, which was about Calamity Jane, but it was actually mostly about Annie Oakley. And y'all, I love me some Annie Oakley, and so did the people who wrote this book. And they also made it like very, very. Why can I not think of the musical's name? Anyway, that Annie Oakley musical.
Annie,
They like. Thank you, Annie, Get Your Gun. Yes. So they referenced that roughly 6 billion times in the book, and I was really there for it every time. But I just found out that they're gonna do Mary's now. So they're starting one called My Contrary Mary, and it's gonna be about Mary, the Queen of Scots. And so it's by Cynthia Hand and a few other people, and I am pretty excited. And they normally have a paranormal twist, right? So they did Jane Eyre, and y'all know how much I hate that book, but this version I really loved because it was like Jane Eyre, but what if she was like a Ghostbuster? So they all have like a twist like that. And so I don't know what My Contrary Mary's twist is going to be, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm here for it. Cool.
I mean, can I just be grumpy that like even though he's been quarantined for how long, George R. R. Martin still has not finished the next Game of Thrones book? Like,
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
You can be grumpy about that.
Yeah, I don't actually believe that he's writing. I think he's lying about it.
He's like, they know how it
I think
ends.
he writes a
At this point,
page
who
and he just
cares?
drops it straight in the shredder. Fair.
Yeah, I finished the last one and my husband was like, well, just so you know, it does take him like 4 or 5 years between books. And I was like, no! And then now it's been like a full decade. Like I unmarried myself from the feeling that I need to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it'll just be like a happy surprise if it happens, but I would like to know how he would finish it and not the
He doesn't know how he would finish it. That's the problem.
I'm saying, like, I want him to get there because I need to know. Like, I don't need to know. I would like to know because I feel like how HBO ended it was real bad.
Oh, yeah.
Real sense.
See, but this is what I think has happened to him. I think he has the end point, and he has where he is now, and he can't figure out how to connect them. And that's why we're never, ever going to get a sequel, because he can't figure out how to bridge the gap. I read that once that he was originally planning to have like a big time skip between 2 sections, and he had to take it out because of something he did in the rewriting process. And my conspiracy theory is that somehow that has borked his writing process, and we will never get the end.
He needed that.
So you heard it here.